Hello and welcome to another episode of Cargo Runs. Has been some time since I did my last one. Today we are kind of recreating a flight I saw on airclips.com. Great site for free aviation videos in the cockpit with the crews. And this particular one I was quite impressed with. It was really good. So I'm kind of trying to do the flight and trying to kind of set it up similarly to what I've seen in the video, as far as that's possible. I'm using the Pmdg B748 freighter because it is really the only really good version of the 747-8 in the 3 simulators. There's another one in X-Plane, the SSG, which is okay, but it doesn't even come close to this one here. But I might actually do the return flight in X-Plane based on the SSG. Saudia Cargo, as far as I know, have actually given back their Dash 8s because, yeah, I'm not sure actually why. Probably because they're quite expensive. So I think since 20 or 21, they are not using the Dash 8 anymore, but the video was still from the time, and it's actually the Hotel Zulu Alpha India 3, which is one of the 2 aircraft registrations. The other one was the AI4, or was it A14? I'm not sure. I think it's AI4. So I'm flying here with the AI3 because that's what I got as a livery here. We have the airplane already put under power and loading is prepared. Normally that takes quite a long time. This is now 0300 or roughly around 0300 Zulu here in Frankfurt. You can see it at the top right there. So the aircraft is prepared to receive all the cargo, and it can take hours depending on how much cargo is to be taken. I think on this flight it was relatively heavy, so I think we had around 100 tons of freight, and that's what I also programmed into SimBrief, hoping that that would fit roughly the real flight. So let's go through the dispatch papers that we got. So this is Saudia flight 914. We are using a Boeing 747-800 from Frankfurt, EDDF. We are on stand Victor 312 on the south side of the airport. It's a small cargo area. It's not like the big one on the north side from Lufthansa Cargo. We are flying to Jeddah, the capital of Saudi Arabia. Oscar Echo Juliet November. Alternate is Oscar Echo Tango Foxtrot. The cruise flight level is initially 230. We are going to do step climbs, which will bring us, then next step I think is flight level 330. And our final cruise altitude is flight level 350. The date is the 5th of July 2021, so it's a year ago. I'm using historic planning and historic weather. That's possible with SimBrief and Active Sky, which is the weather program I use in this case. You're actually seeing SimToolkit Pro, and it's a browser inlet on SimToolkit Pro showing you the current briefing here on SimBrief. We're going to depart at 0500 UTC or around that. I mean, in the video I can fake things a little bit, but yeah, so the airtime is supposed to be 4 hours 48. I doubt it. It'll probably be a bit more, over 5 hours, but so the flight time is somewhere between about 5 to 5.5 hours probably. The block fuel that we have been given from the planning is 66.8 tons. I'm going to stick to these numbers more or less. We have extra fuel of 4 tons. Zero fuel weight is 297.2 tons, and the takeoff weight is 363.1, which is still in the constraints of the maximum takeoff weight, so we'll be fine. You can see the routing here, it's quite a long one. Let me show you the map of our flight. So we're going to take off in Frankfurt, and we're going to fly down via Austria, passing Croatia, along here, the Tyrrhenian, I think, Sea in the Mediterranean. We're going to fly over Greece, and so we'll probably see Athens possibly from the window. Then we're crossing, well, slightly west of Crete, hitting landfall again in Africa, in Egypt, and then fly through Egypt, and then here to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. This is probably also the shortest route, but it also bypasses some areas that may be a bit more critical, like Syria or so. So this is the best route, and it flies via Egypt. Okay, so let's have a look at some more parameters. Weather-wise, by the way, let me quickly call up the active sky map. So this is historical weather from about a year ago, and we can see that we have some clouds, but there is not a lot of precipitation. There may be some minor precipitation in Frankfurt, or there was at the time, but it's basically okay, and we have some clouds. Visibility is quite okay, and you can see the route here with the departure route falling via Amtix, and so looking at that, the rain keeps away from us, so we should have a pretty good flight. The winds are, yeah, well, not exactly helping us, but I think they are okay. Zoom out a little bit. Then we do have an area of SIGMETs along the way, but I don't think this is really dangerous stuff. So I think color green means that we may have some turbulences or so. It might not affect us at all. It's difficult to actually read this slightly messy display here. I'm not sure what they're trying to tell us. So over Greece, you can see that the clouds are getting lighter, and so we should have some good views on the Greek here, on the Peloponnese, and yeah, so we're actually touching Crete, so we'll be seeing Crete on our way down, and then we have landfall here at MMA in Egypt. Crossing Egypt, yeah, and then there is, at the moment, at the time of the simulation that we have now, there is slight precipitation. I think it's difficult to actually, let me see, is this precipitation? No, this is not. This is probably visibility. So we have some slightly reduced visibility at the moment in Jeddah, and a few wisps of clouds, but nothing really serious. And we should be arriving then around midday or so. Now that's not the real times. I chose to start in the dark in Frankfurt and then be in the bright light in Jeddah. That's our weather briefing. So everything looks pretty good. Then let's have a look through the flight plan parameters. Quickly, can I zoom here? No, I can't. It's okay. 5th of July 2021. Yeah, so that's our aircraft. We are expecting to leave Frankfurt at 0500 UTC and arrive roughly at 10 UTC in Jeddah. Jeddah is a couple of hours ahead, 2 or 3 or so. I actually don't know. I have to check. That would be, it's all UTC times here. That would probably be something like 1300 or so. I think at least 1 to 2 hours we are ahead, so we should be arriving around midday. The CI 313 looks a little bit high, but I might use it because it's a SimBrief. I have actually created a SimBrief profile for this aircraft, making sure that the weights are correct. The ground distance is 2,312 nautical miles. The air distance is a little bit less, 2,271. The average wind along the route is 264. That means coming from the west, giving us a slight push with 15 knots. As I say, this is average. The average wind component is plus 0.009. That's quite okay. Average ISA is plus 11. Average fuel flow kilograms per hour is 10,296. So that's why they calculated roughly 50,000 kilograms, 50 tons to be used on this flight. We shall see if that's okay. Our step climbs, so due to the weight, we are going to initially level off at flight level 230. And at Lampu, we're going to climb to flight level 330. As we don't have ATC in this case, we'll be fine with that. And at Lelta, we're finally going to flight level 350 for the rest of the flight. Fuel-wise, trip fuel is calculated on 4 hours and 48. We might need a bit longer. That's why I took some 4 tons of extra fuel, because usually things might not work out on the minute like this. So we should be fine with the fuel. We have a contingency of 15 minutes. It's 2.5 tons. Alternate or ETF is 5.1 tons or 28 minutes flying time. So ETF is a couple of miles from Jeddah. When we look here at the map, I can see it here. At-Taif, I suppose, is the name of the city. The final reserve is 4.7 tons or 30 minutes. We should not touch this one. That usually have you explain in the chief pilot's office. Minimum takeoff fuel is 61 tons. As we added a little bit, and we also get a taxi of 20 minutes. Frankfurt can be quite long. So we end up with 66.816 kilograms or 66.8 tons, to be more precise. FMC info, final reserve plus alternate is 9.8 tons, and the trip and taxi together is 50.383 tons. So we're probably going to use 50 tons on our flight. So the weather and NOTAMs, the departure, the thing is, I'm just trying to figure out if this is real or simulated meta. It must be simulated meta because, let me see, 0521, 20 Zulu, that's a bit odd. So winds with 310 is 6 knots, CAV okay. So let's have a look at the actual weather parameters here. Actually, we need to look at another one. Let's go to the flight plan and have a look. So at Frankfurt, the simulated weather is, let's go to conditions, is actually 109 with 5 knots. So I don't think we can use this here. I already thought so. Therefore, I'm going to quickly check here. So the weather at the moment simulated weather a year ago is 16 degrees, dew point 15 degrees, winds 190 with 5 knots, which is good because we intend to take off towards south anyway on runway 18. We have very good visibility, there is no precipitation at the moment, and the pressure is 1011. And it's a bit cloudy, so we do have a few clouds around, but generally the weather is quite good and favorable here in Frankfurt. In Jeddah, we do have partly cloudy, so there's a little bit of mist. I think the visibility, although the visibility is good there as well. It's 26 degrees at the moment, 30 degrees and 26 dew point, winds from 300 with 10 knots. And 1002, a bit lower the air pressure. No precipitation, and I think that'll stay like this probably throughout the day. We shall see. Yeah, you can also call up a briefing here that you can even get read to yourself, which gives you, again, now our departure, as I say, will be runway 218. And that means I will actually change because the sim brief gives you only the western and gives you only the west-east runways, but runway 18 is a takeoff only runway, and we're going to use it. Okay, so that's the briefing so far. Now let's pack up, go to the aircraft, and then we start with getting it loaded and prepared for takeoff. After the dispatch office, we are now at the aircraft. It is meanwhile 0400 roughly UTC. The ground crew has loaded the aircraft, so all the fuel and also the cargo is loaded, and the aircraft is rather heavy. And we're going to sit in the cockpit now and start setting up the aircraft, making it ready for departure. Right, so here we are in the aircraft. Just the basic setup has been done by the ground crew, and we're now going to set it up as we need it. Let's start with, so ground power is available. I'm going to activate the second external power. Bring in the IRS units into nav mode so that they can start aligning. That usually takes some time, unless in the Pmdg you can shorten the time it takes. And that's going to go through here. So we're also going to set the 2 hydraulic units. We've got permission from the ground crew to activate the hydraulic. Let's also turn on the beacon. So in the meantime, it has got brighter. All right then, beacon is on. The APU is not yet available. I'm going to do that in a while. In the meantime, the first officer will do the walk around and check that the aircraft is in good condition. Now, I would normally like to do that myself, but in the simulator, running around the aircraft is somewhat tedious, and therefore I leave it. Okay, first thing to do is, before we start programming the FMC, although we can do initial programming, so let's first check here. The model is the 747-8 Foxtrot with General Electric engines 2B67. We've got a current ARAC loaded. So that's fine. Let's go to the position in it. We're at Echo Delta Delta Foxtrot. And we're now comparing the position here. All seem to be the same. So I'm bringing it into the scratch pad. Now, normally what you can do is you can enter the gate, so the V312, but unfortunately the database doesn't know that one. The other possibility is that I will quickly go to the Navigraph and see if I have let's see if I actually do have parking positions for that area. Those are the parking stands, INS coordinates. So let's check. We're looking for V312. Well, interestingly, these ones don't show up here. Okay. Just to verify quickly, we are in this area of the airport. It's on the south side. It's a small cargo area. It's not as big as the one up here, which is the Lufthansa cargo. And it looks like we're not going to have too much information about this, so I'm going to use the position as it comes here from the IRS or GPS units. So I'm going to click this and that'll do. So we have some FS2 crew actions going on in the background. They might not match fully the cargo operations, because usually they are done for passenger operations, so don't be surprised if we get announcements. Yeah, so as I thought, it's not in database. Or was it 312? Hang on. No. So these are not available, but we are on that position. So now let's go to the route. We need to get the D-Link, the SATCOM. So let's see if we have alignment already. Looks like we have alignment, yeah, okay. So in order to go into the D-Link, we would actually need to go here. Let me bring this over. Go on the data link, ACARS, Preflight. So we are taking off from Echo Delta Delta Foxtrot to Oscar Echo Juliet November, Jeddah. Our estimated time of departure is 0500. And our estimated arrival is 10:08. Whether or not that works out, we shall see. We are Sierra Victor Alpha 931. No, hang on, 914. Fuel on board is 66.8 tons. It's already loaded on the 5th. And here's the flight number, so that's fine. Now let's connect the data link. And I think that's all we can or have to do here in the D-Link menu. I'm taking this out to help me with all the surrounding doors and other facilities that can be controlled from here. So that now should give us the possibility to go to the root menu and request the flight plan. We have it actually stored here. Now this is one I saved earlier, but this is the one that SimBrief has calculated and provided, so I'm going to use this one. I'm going to say request. It's now sending, it's simulating data link activities. That's why you need to do the thing that we just did. Ding dong. There we go. Clear. And oh yeah, we haven't loaded it yet, so let's load. Performance init uplink. Okay. There we go. It took a moment. So via Cindy, Zulu 74, Lampu, direct number.
I am out for the walk around.
Cool.
Yes, please. Thank you. That's our route. Now let's quickly verify this against the route that we have in SimBrief. For that, we need to have a look here. So this is a SimToolkit Pro on a different machine. Quickly put this out. Let's also close the load sheet for the moment. And let's have a look here. So it's Cindy, then Zulu 74 to Lampu, then direct Nombo, Yankee 161 to MHAH, direct Vavor. Yep. Then direct Radis, direct Nemex, direct Vrana, direct Petak, direct Dimis. On the Upper Lima 604 to Salon, November 71. Oh, hang on. Yeah, 705 to Bopix. November 710 to Tarki, Takri, Papa 751 to Lima X-Ray Romeo, and Mike 999 to Juliet Delta Whiskey, which I think Jeddah VOR direct airport. We haven't yet got an arrival for that. So the route is okay. It is conform with what we have here in our flight planning. Then let's get to the departure. Now I'm not going to have ATC on this one, just some fake ATC in the background. So I'm going to fake now that we are connecting to the clearance delivery frequency, and we'll get some background chatter. So we've been cleared to Jeddah via the Echo Delta Delta Foxtrot 25 left. Now I would like to change this because the real flight actually left via runway 18, and I think when the winds are coming from the south, therefore it would also match. But in order to check this, what we're going to do very quickly is to dial in ATC, the ATIS, and check out what the weather report is. So let's quickly go here. 122.0 is active skies ATIS. So let's listen to the ATIS.
Echo, Delta, Delta, Foxtrot, airport information, Lima, 0420, Zulu, weather, wind, 177 at 7, visibility, 10,000, Echo, Delta, Delta, Foxtrot, airport information, Lima, 0420, Zulu, weather, wind, 000 at 7, visibility, 10,000, Echo, Delta, Delta.
Yeah. So you can hear the wind is coming from the south, it's 177, therefore it makes sense. I will therefore have ATC give us a departure via runway 18, but it still needs to be a Cindy departure because Cindy is our first waypoint on the route. So let's go back here and select runway 18. Now I need to now go and with the help of Navigraph figure out what the correct departure would be in that case, because Cindy 1 Yankee that we had is not the correct one. So let's keep that in. And I guess we follow the instructions from the Zulu departure. The transition altitude is 5,000. We're contacting Langen radar when advised by tower. SIDs are also noise abatement procedures within the limits of aircraft performance is mandatory. Warning, close-in obstacles, wind shears. For operation runway use concept refer to, yeah, and so on. So runway 18, the SID requires a minimum climb gradient because we're following Zulu's 3S until Cindy. Okay, so let's pick Cindy 4S, runway 18, and have a quick look at the legs page. And I will also switch over to the mode here so that we can have a look at the route. Not always easy to get these windows moved, undock. So I'm moving them up. So let's step through the flight plan. So we're going south, we're going to Amtix, Cindy, and then from Cindy we continue on our route. Yeah, okay. So that's looking quite good. So I'm preparing the briefing here. Okay. Right, let's continue. One thing that I always put in as a kind of a prophylactic measure is to provide at least an approach like we have been given 3-4 right due to the winds in Jeddah. So let's have a look. ILS 3-4 right, so I would select ILS 3-4 right, but I would not select anything because we're going to decide what we're going to fly when we're there. This is probably, yeah, I'm not sure if there is a standard arrival available, but we're going to look at that during the flight and then have ATC give us the correct version here. Okay, so I've selected this. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, there's a discontinuity I will leave in for the moment, and that's the theoretical approach to the ILS 34 right. Okay. So let's activate this, execute, and continue with the setup. But before we continue, we need to actually we need to get the performance calculated. I'm now going to copy the FMC data. Okay, so from the ATIS, let's put this in here. We set 177 width. Now I didn't take note, so I'm quickly checking. It's 177 with 7 knots. The outside temperature is indeed 16 degrees. Oops. No. With 7 knots, and then we need to get here. It's 16 degrees, and the pressure is, and let's quickly change over to HPA. Our current pressure is 1011. One zero zero one. Oh. Yeah, you have to get used to this. 1011 2985. Okay. Very good. Then again, our takeoff weight. Let's quickly call up the load sheet again. So our ramp weight is 364051. 364051. Yeah, the first officer, by the way, has started some pre-flight settings. So the pre-flight procedure is done in the background. We're taking off from EDDF, runway 18. Condition is indeed dry, so the weather is dry. We have no rain. The thrust rating, we're going to use takeoff and get some suggestions for a selected temperature. The flap config, we use optimum. Air conditioning.
Okay, I finished my scan.
Can stay on. And the anti-ice is off. We won't need it today. And that will then calculate. So runway 18, flaps 10, he suggests flaps 10. Acceleration height 1500, runway is 18. Takeoff gross weight is 364051. Actually, that's all nice and good, but I just remember that I would need to go into the weight and balance, read from aircraft, And we realize that the landing weight is orange, but that is because we haven't provided information yet. So this is the weights in the cargo. So let's go to fuel. And what we will do is the taxi out fuel is 907. It's been calculated as 907. Make sure that the cursor is in, or you click several times. Oops. Oh, it's a bit confusing. Now we are. Planned trip fuel is block and route 49476. 49476. That comes from the load sheet. And what happens then is it deducts the planned used trip fuel from the weight, and that means we are actually below the maximum landing weight, and we are also below the maximum takeoff weight, which is great. So we're pressing complete, and now I'm going to calculate again. So 58 degrees, which is 92.9 takeoff thrust, and RV speeds are 157, 159, 178. So with this in mind, what we can do is program that also into the performance here. So 364, fuel 66.8, zero fuel weight 297.2. The reserves are set to 12.9 tons. The flight level is 350, but we are going to use step climbs, and I still need to find out how I'm going to set this up. Minimum fuel temperature minus 37, cost index 100. Last time I did this, it actually did something else. So send request. Let's do that again. Let's see. Looks like the same stuff. Okay, cruise CG is 20. And so let's accept this. It puts it in then as values. Then go to the thrust limit. So select the temperature. It suggests 58 degrees. On takeoff rating, and well, we have 93.5. Not sure why these values are not exactly the same. Well, we'll be okay. So we're taking off with flaps 10. And again, some of the values suggested do not match up. 21.9. See if that, yeah, 21.9, 22, that's okay. Runway 18 from the beginning, we don't take any intersections. And well, what will I take now? They're off by 1 or 2 knots, but in the same ballpark. So what the heck, I'm going to use what it suggests here. So reference OAT, acceleration height, reduction. Yeah, that's fine. So let's see. We're going to take off with about 66.6 tons and we'll arrive about 5 hours later in Jeddah with 16.4 tons on board. Let's see if that works out as it shows us here. All right. Onto the legs page and a quick check again. So we have all the altitudes in there. It has calculated everything.
Hi, here's the fuel slip.
Thanks.
Welcome. Have a nice flight.
Thank you. So I'm just wondering, where can I see the... Oh yeah, we're still in plan mode here on the display. So let's go back to map mode, which then gives us the route data. I'm going to load the wind data, which we got, by the way, from Active Sky. It calculates the wind data and then writes it into a special file. This file is then read by the Pmdg. And we can see the winds, the calculated winds. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but when it comes from Active Sky, and Active Sky is producing the weather, it should be pretty good. Yeah, so the predominant wind comes from the west, giving us a slight push. We've seen this already in the dispatch office, so we're looking good. And our first officer has already prepared the aircraft, and that means that we are ready to call for the pre-flight checklist.
Pre-flight checklist.
Pre-flight checklist. Oxygen.
Tested 100%.
Tested 100%.
Tested 100%. Flight instruments.
Heading 246. Altimeter 1011.
Heading 246. Altimeter 1011. Parking brake.
Set.
Fuel control switches.
Cut off.
Pre-flight checklist complete.
Okay, so and next we would then go through the departure brief and start that now.
Are you ready for the departure brief?
Go ahead.
Okay, it's going to be a standard pushback and start of the stand. Taxi route will be assigned by ATC. It will be a left seat takeoff, using rated thrust. Planning a flaps 10 takeoff. Anti-ice will be off. As for the safety brief, if I decide to stop the takeoff, I will call stop. You will monitor my actions and call any omissions. I will close the thrust levers, raise the speed brakes, and apply maximum symmetrical reverse thrust consistent with conditions. You will nominate the symmetrical pair, if appropriate. I will utilize the RTO function of the auto brakes. If you call auto brakes, I will apply maximum manual braking. You will note the speed and notify ATC. I will bring the aircraft to a complete stop before calling for the appropriate QRH checklist. If I continue the takeoff, I will call go. With the gear selected up and safety established in the climb, you will restate the failure. I will fly the aircraft, engage an autopilot, and call for the appropriate checklist when safety established in the climb. We are over our maximum landing weight, so if we are able, we will hold and burn off fuel before returning to the airport. Okay, all going well. The departure routing will be via the ATC assigned standard instrument departure, complying with all published speed and altitude restrictions. We will use noise abatement procedure 1. Do you have any questions, comments or concerns?
No questions.
Departure brief complete. Before start procedure.
Are we clear to pressurize?
We are cleared to pressurize.
Okay.
Put in V2 plus 10. Then the heading is for runway 18. Let's quickly check that.
I am ready for the checklist.
Yes, 177. Then initial altitude. Let's go to the departure and check for altitude constraints. So initial climb clearance is 4,000. Let's turn on the flight directors. Yeah. And select RNAV VNAV. So anything else I need to do here? I think I'm fine. So let's go for the before start checklist.
Before start checklist.
Before start checklist. Supernumerary signs. Auto. MCP.
V2 is 189. Heading track 177. Altitude 4000.
Takeoff speeds.
V1 is 159. VR 159. V2 is 179.
CDO Preflight.
Is
Completed.
Completed. Trim.
So the trim, let's quickly check. The trim is to be 6.4. So we need to have no, hang on, there's the flight control page. So the trim is a stabilizer trim 6, so let's do 6.4.
6.5 unit set 0 and 0.
Taxi and takeoff briefing.
We are here at Victor 312. We are going to push back facing north. Then coming up Sierra, I'm not sure, this is some Sierra taxiway, but unfortunately this is cannot be seen here on this chart. It's actually Sierra 11. Yeah, it's Sierra 11. So we're taxiing via Sierra 11 and then on to Sierra. Then we follow Sierra all the way to Sierra 33. Sierra 33, then right to Yankee, all the way up Yankee, and then hard to see what that is. The entry point for runway 18. I think it's Lima Whiskey 3. I guess. That's the taxi briefing, and for the takeoff, starting runway 18, max 220 knots until established on 116 track, which is this here. Yeah, so we keep 220 knots until we have made the turn here. At this point we need to be higher than 2,500 feet or above. This means turn 800, so the turn is initiated when we are at 800 or above, or at DME 12 RID. RID is the read VOR, which is down here. And then we follow to Amtix and then Cindy, and Cindy is then for us the exit point where we fly south towards the left and follow our route.
Completed.
Beacon, both. Before start checklist complete.
Okay, start sequence is 4 and 3, then 2 and 1.
Start sequence is 4 and 3, then 2 and 1.
Check.
Get the pushback.
Please confirm that the brakes are set.
And we're actually taking away now the... Have we started the APU? No, not yet. So let's get the APU started.
Here's the load sheet for you.
Thanks.
So the APU is coming up. So looks like we have the APU. So let's switch to APU power. And we can now disconnect the ground power. And also remove the chocks. And check that the parking brake is set. Yes. Saudia 914 request push and start. Push and start approved, facing north.
Outside check is completed, all doors and panels are closed, no issues found. You can pressurize the hydraulics anytime now.
Okay, so we've got the hydraulics already pressurized. Then let's get ready for
Understood. Facing north, release the brakes, please. Ground flight deck. Please confirm that the brakes are set. Thanks. Understood. Facing north. Release the brakes, please. Pushing back. All ground equipment is clear. You can start the engines at your discretion.
Oh, thank you.
American 117, full length for departure.
let's start engines 1 and 2, please.
Start engines 2 and 1.
Exiting the runway at Whiskey.
Okay, Alpha, Squadron Golf, will give way to JetBlue at Whiskey with Go 167.
N1 EGT.
Seabird 45 Star Heavy, you can give
good.
way to the JetBlue at Whiskey off your right, then you can move up and hold short of exec. Seabird 405 Star Heavy.
What's the Fox Heavy, go ahead.
Seabird 405 Star Heavy, give way to the JetBlue off the right, move up and hold short of
The
exec.
push is complete, please set the brakes.
Parking brake is set.
Understood.
Starter cut out. Very good.
Okay, the turbo is disconnected and pin is out and equipment is clear.
Then do the before taxi procedure.
Before taxi procedure.
Okay, the turbo is
Roger.
disconnected and
Happy
pin is
to
out
turn
and
on the
equipment is clear.
APU.
Thanks, and you can disconnect and go to the hand signals.
Thanks and have a good flight.
Air Portugal 209 Alpha Heavy, continue via Alpha now and hold short of Golf.
Right then, before taxi checklist.
Before taxi checklist, please.
Before taxi checklist, anti-ice, auto, recall, checked. Auto brake, RTO, flight controls.
740, that works for you and
Checked.
affirmative.
Checked.
Before taxi checklist complete.
So, clear on the left.
Clear left.
Clear right.
Okie dokie, then. Taxi light. Park brake off.
American 117, follow the traffic ahead, cross the
And
right
off
at
we go.
Juliet, monitor tower.
We are a little bit late, 15 minutes. It all took a bit longer than I thought, as usual.
Delta 1427, follow the traffic ahead, cross the right at Juliet, monitor tower 123.9. American 1355, follow the Delta ahead, cross the right at Juliet, and monitor tower 123.9.
Oh, Delta.
clear to enter the runway.
Before takeoff checklist, please.
Before takeoff checklist. Flaps.
Flaps 10.
Flaps 10.
Flaps 10. Before takeoff checklist complete.
Runway entry procedure.
Check. I'm ready to go.
Yankee Alpha via Paracento overtake into Alice Square. Square by Paracento, Yankee Alpha.
Check 18.